from roasting the Smiths,
Oh, wow!
to calling out Kevin Hart for being in literally every movie.
He was playing a bush. I was like, is that Kev? Get out of here, Kev!
Here are 11 times Chris Rock absolutely destroyed celebrities. And to kick things off, let's start with Jada Pinkett Smith's Oscars boycott. The 2016 Oscars were surrounded by controversy, as the Academy faced major backlash for its lack of diversity, leading to the viral hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. Many actors and filmmakers, including Jada Pinkett Smith, announced they were boycotting the ceremony in protest. And that's when Chris Rock stepped in.
What happened this year? What happened? People went mad, you know? Spike got mad, and Sharpton got mad, and Jada went mad, and Will went mad. Everybody went mad, you know? It's quite like Jada got mad. Jada says she's not coming, protesting. I'm like, is she on a TV show?
Jada wanted nothing to do with the Oscars that year. But according to Chris, the Oscars didn't exactly miss her either.
Jada's gonna boycott the Oscars. Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited.
The punchline probably hit a sore spot, and just when you think he's done, he flips the whole situation on its head and drags Will into it.
But I understand, I'm not hating. I understand you're mad. Jada's mad, her man, Will, was not nominated for concussion. I get it. Tell the truth, I get it.
He really is playing the understanding card here, but watch what happens next.
I get it. You get mad, said it's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated. Yeah, you're right. It's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West, okay?
Now, was it unfair that Will didn't get nominated for concussion? Sure. But was it more unfair that Hollywood handed him $20 million for Wild Wild West? Absolutely. But here's where it gets even better. Because Chris wasn't just dragging other people. He threw Kevin Hart into the fire too.
Things, this year the Oscars, things are gonna be a little different. Things are gonna be a little different at the Oscars. This year, in the in memoriam package, it's just gonna be black people that were shot by the cops on their way to the movies.
Boycott the Oscars? Oh, Chris thought about it. But the only problem? He wasn't about to lose another job to Kevin Hart. And honestly, fair point. At the rate Kevin Hart was booking gigs in 2016, he probably would have been hosting 3 award shows that night. Chris Rock came out swinging, and this wasn't the only instance. The 2022 Oscars were not any better for the Smiths. The 2022 Oscars were rolling along as expected. Red carpets, celebrities, and a whole lot of self-congratulations. But then came Chris Rock. He took the stage doing what he does best, roasting Hollywood royalty.
Now, if she loses, he can't win! He is praying that Will Smith wins, like, please!
It started with a joke on Javier Bardem and his wife, but then he turned his attention to Jada Pinkett Smith.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it, all right? That was a nice one, okay.
Boy, she does not look happy. The joke? A quick jab about Jada's shaved head, referencing G.I. Jane. But here's where things get complicated. Jada wasn't rocking that look by choice. She had openly spoken about her struggle with alopecia, a condition that causes hair loss. At first, Will Smith was laughing, but then he saw Jada's face too, and in an instant, everything changed.
Oh, wow! Wow!
Will stormed the stage and slapped Chris Rock across the face. The audience, frozen. Was this real? Was it a bit? Nobody knew what was happening. But once Will got back to his seat, oh, it was real.
Get my name out your mouth!
Wow, dude!
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
I'm going to.
Chris barely had a second to process what had happened before Will was shouting across the room. And just like that, the entire vibe of the Oscars shifted from glamorous to straight up chaotic. Chris stayed professional. No retaliation, no meltdown, just pure shock. And then, without missing a beat, he kept the show moving. But if you thought he'd just stay mum his whole life, boy were you wrong. He dropped the Netflix special and unloaded everything. Chris started off acknowledging the elephant in the room, because, let's be real, everybody knew what happened.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Yes, it happened. I got smacked like a year ago. Fucking last week, I got smacked in the fucking Oscars by this. And people like, did it hurt? It still hurts.
There it was. Raw, unfiltered honesty. He didn't pretend it didn't hurt. He didn't brush it off. He owned it. But this wasn't just about a slap. According to Chris, this was about selective outrage.
Will Smith practices selective outrage. Practices selective outrage. Because everybody knows what the happened. Everybody that really knows I had nothing to do with that.
But watch how he very slyly throws shade at Jada with what he says next.
I didn't have any entanglements. I did not have any entanglement.
But you see, this wasn't really about a G.I. Jane joke. This was about years of humiliation.
And then for people that don't know, what everybody knows, his wife was her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this.
And so, he aired their dirty laundry in front of the whole world. Chris wasn't the one who embarrassed Will Smith. Jada did that all on her own.
But for some reason, these put that shit on the internet. I have no idea why two talented people would do something that low down. What the we all been cheated on. Everybody in here have been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television.
She wasn't just cheating, she aired it out publicly. And not just publicly, on a full-blown interview where she sat across from Will and basically said, yeah, I had a thing with our son's friend. How do you feel about that?
They're like, hey, I was sucking somebody else's. How did that make you feel?
And the entire world watched Will's soul leave his body.
Why the would you do that shit? She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
Once that entanglement went viral, it was open season on Will Smith. Every rapper, every podcast, every talk show, everyone was clowning him. And instead of checking them, Will decided to take all that built-up frustration and smack the one guy he knew wouldn't hit back. That, Chris wasn't about to let slide.
Everybody called him a shit, called his wife a predator. Everybody called him a Everybody.
I mean, okay, Chris, I think we all get it. The entire world was calling Will weak, and instead of hitting back at the people who actually humiliated him, he picked Chris Rock.
And who's he hit? Me. A nigga he know he could beat. That is some.
Chris, not impressed. And here's where it all comes full circle. Because this wasn't the first time Jada came for Chris.
I do nothing to this, okay? His whatever. Years ago, his wife said I should quit the Oscars. I shouldn't host because her man didn't get nominated for Emancipation. The biggest piece of ever, okay? And then something gives me a concussion.
Jada started it. Chris finished it.
She said he should quit because Will didn't get nominated for concussion. What the fuck? What the fuck? So then I do some jokes about her. Who gives a fuck? That's how it is. She starts it, I finish it, okay? That's what the fuck happened. Nobody's picking on this bitch. She started this.
Chris Rock waited an entire year to say anything about the slap. But when he finally spoke, he made sure it hit harder than Will ever could. Chris didn't just stop at obliterating Will and Jada. He had more to say. And next on his list, Meghan Markle and her shocking revelations about the royal family. For months, Meghan had been making headlines, claiming that the royal family was racist, from subtle jabs to full-blown interviews about how she was treated unfairly. And Chris, he wasn't buying it.
They're so racist, they're so racist. Some of that he went through was not racism. It was just some in-law.
One of Meghan's biggest complaints was that a royal family member questioned her baby's skin tone.
Sometimes it's just some in-law. Because she's complaining. I'm like, what the she talking about? No, Oprah, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be.
Chris, he had a very different perspective.
I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know.
To him, this wasn't some deep, sinister racism. It was just regular family gossip. Because let's be real, black families do this too. But here's where Chris really called Megan out.
They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know.
She claimed she didn't realize how racist the royals were until after she married Harry. And Chris, he wasn't having it. Chris's point? Meghan married into the most privileged family on Earth. She's not exactly struggling. She just has annoying in-laws. Next on his list of entitled celebrities, Elon Musk. Because, let's be honest, when you're the richest man on the planet, you're automatically a target.
I'm my favorite charity. You know what Elon Musk does every time he sells a Tesla? He gets his sucked.
Chris didn't just roast Musk for being a billionaire. He roasted him for having billionaire problems.
That's why he looks so weird. Because his body has negative. He's the richest man on Earth. No one has lower levels than Elon Musk.
Most guys worry about rent, car payments, maybe keeping their Wi-Fi on. Meanwhile, Elon is dealing with an entirely different kind of crisis. And forget about the stock market. There's a 6-month waiting list for something far more exclusive.
There's a 6-month waiting list for Elon Musk. He's flying to the moon. Who can compete with that shit? No one has less sperm than Elon Musk. Only Jason Momoa comes close.
Chris Rock made it clear, being rich comes with perks, but sometimes those perks might just drain the life out of you. After torching Elon Musk at the 92nd Academy Awards, it was only right that Chris Rock set his sights on another billionaire, Jeff Bezos. Because when you're one of the richest men on Earth, you know Chris isn't gonna let you slide.
Jeff Bezos is here.
Oh!
Jeff Bezos.
Wow, great actor.
He's got cash. When he writes a check, the bank bounce.
Great actor? Poor guy got roasted right in the introduction. And then Chris joked about his divorce.
Jeff Bezos is so rich, he got divorced, and he's still the richest man in the world. He saw Marriage Story and thought it was a comedy.
The best part? Bezos didn't even flinch. The man sat there smiling, probably because no matter how much Chris roasted him, he was still making millions by the second. Even Steve Martin had to keep it safe, joking that he wasn't about to mess with a guy who controls his Amazon deliveries.
Steve, do you have anything you want to add about Mr. Bezos?
No, I like getting my packages on time.
Chris made one thing clear. When you're that rich, even your losses don't count as losses. And speaking of untouchable celebrities, stick around, because next, we're diving into another ruthless roast from Chris Rock. Live from NBC's Saturday Night Live, Chris Rock took the stage for its 50th anniversary and wasted zero time diving into pure chaos. Because according to him, it's been a rough year for his people. And no, not just politically, he meant something far worse.
It's been a bad year for my people, the blacks. It's not been a good year. Kamala and Diddy and Jake Paul.
Right at the top of his list, Jake Paul. There's a lot to be said about Jake Paul's boxing career, but to Chris, the fact that this dude is out here punching senior citizens is the real crime.
And Jake Paul beating Mike Tyson. What the hell? Who is this Jake Paul? He's a 27-year-old punching a 60-year-old man in the face? Is this what the white man has reduced himself to? Stop it!
Seriously, boxing is supposed to be a young man's sport. Meanwhile, Jake's in his prime fighting guys who qualify for AARP. Chris wasn't just mad, he was offended on behalf of all old men, because if this keeps up, who's next?
Well, who's he gonna fight next? Morgan Freeman? I hate Jake Paul. I got landlord hate for him. I hate him like cocaine hates monogamy.
The landlord hate? That deep, irrational, no reason needed kind of hate. The kind of hate that exists just because. Because at the end of the day, Jake Paul isn't just winning fights. He's winning at making people mad for a living. Speaking of people who can't seem to take an L, stick around, because next, we've got Michael Strahan. Chris Rock knows a thing or two about hard work, but according to him, nobody works harder than Michael Strahan. He was on the Good Morning America show with Adam Sandler promoting their movie, and when he talked about how hard-working Adam Sandler is, he had some shade to throw at Mike.
This guy's funniest guy I know, hardest worker I know. Yeah. I mean, next to Michael Strahan. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you.
Michael walks down the street, garbage men like, get some rest.
Now, we all know Strahan is everywhere. Morning shows, sports commentary, game shows, endorsements. The man does it all. But according to Chris, even garbage men are looking at Strahan like, dude, take a break. Michael isn't the only person Chris randomly called out. We've got Kristen Stewart, too. Over on the Graham Norton show, Kristen Stewart was trying to explain how she doesn't like being handed roles. She wants to fight for them. Chris, completely baffled.
I really like to fight for jobs. I hate the feeling of suddenly being like, oh, well, you know, Kristen can have it because just because she can. You know what I mean?
Did you see his face? Kristen was out here talking about not wanting things just given to her. But Chris, he had no clue what she was saying. Because let's be real, who's turning down a job?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Give me the job. I don't care if everybody's better than me. I want the job. Well, the parts for a Mexican. Yeah.
Chris didn't even pretend to understand. He just wanted the paycheck. You're telling him he could get a major role without auditioning, and he's supposed to complain? Up next, we've got Chris going off on Rick Ross. When Chris Rock stepped on stage at the BET Awards in 2015, he had one mission, to roast everyone in sight. And Rick Ross, he got hit hard. Chris started by calling out the flood of celebrity-endorsed headphones, because after Dr. Dre made a fortune with Beats, everyone wanted a piece of the action.
You know, Dre's got headphones. So now everybody else trying to get headphones. 50 Cent got headphones. Rick Ross even has headphones. That's right, Dre got Beats. Rick Ross has diabetes.
According to Chris, maybe he should have focused on something else first. Rick Ross's headphones are for medical emergencies.
See, they the headphones that you put on swollen feet before you chop them off.
At this point, Rick Ross isn't pushing bass-boosted sound. He's selling doctor-recommended survival gear. Now, plenty of rappers have wild, dangerous lifestyles, but Chris had a very specific and unexpected prediction for Ross.
I love Rick Ross. See here tonight, Rick Ross, my favorite rapper. Because Rick Ross don't care. Rick Ross just comes out, he got the tits as Rick Ross gonna be the first rapper to die of breast cancer.
It's his laugh in the end that just gets you. Nobody saw that one coming. Chris Rock went straight for the gut, and Rick Ross, he probably just laughed it off, because if there's one thing that's certain, Chris doesn't care who you are. If there's a joke, he's telling it. And he didn't just stop at Rick, he turned fire towards Kevin Hart next. If there's one thing Chris Rock can't ignore, it's Kevin Hart's insane work ethic, because according to him, Kevin Hart is in everything. Chris started off by celebrating black excellence in Hollywood. Tons of great movies, award-winning performances, serious storytelling, and then he pointed out the real trend in black cinema.
Excellence in TV, we got excellence in movies too. A lot of excellent black movies, man. And some of them don't even have Kevin Hart in them.
Because no matter what the movie is, dramatic, action-packed, historical, Kevin Hart is somehow in there. According to Chris, Kevin Hart isn't just in movies, he's everywhere.
There are movies, Kevin Hart's in everything. My man is in every movie there is. I think Kevin, and sometimes he in the trailer and not in the movie.
Chris took the joke one step further, saying Kevin Hart's so popular, he's probably sneaking into movies we don't even realize.
Sometime I saw him in Magnificent. Kevin Hart, Angelina Jolie, he was playing a bush. I was like, is that Kev? Get out of here. Kev's in Transformers. He turned into a Prius. I was like, look at Kev. Look at Kev.